Thanks for being with us today.
Yeah, glad to be here.
Okay, so I'll just start with the first question, which is about your Bitcoin Misery Index. Uh, it hit its highest figure since June 2016 recently, and I'm wondering if you can first explain to viewers what the Bitcoin Misery Index is, and then talk about what this recent figure means.
Yeah, the Bitcoin Misery Index is designed to sort of measure or track what we believe is the sentiment of a holder of crypto. And it's designed to have a reading between 0 and 100. So 100 means everybody is enthusiastic, and 0 means everyone's depressed. At the extremes, it tends to be a contrarian indicator. And so, when it falls below 27, if everyone's miserable, it's probably a good risk reward. But when it's above 67, it's not necessarily a sell signal, but it does mean everyone's euphoric. And the most recent reading was 89 or so, almost 90, which is the highest reading in more than a few years. And so we published a piece sort of noting two things. One is um, Bitcoin BMI, Bitcoin BMI, which is the misery index, readings above 67 have never taken place in a bear market. So I think that it means that the fact that we were able to get above 67, and throughout 2018, BMI was never got above 50, means that a bull market is likely starting. But the second implication is that when the reading gets to the 90s, 6 out of 6 times there was a drawdown in markets, so averaging 25%. So I think in the short term, it means that we could see some sort of pullback, but it would not be the start of or an extension of a bear. It just simply means that Bitcoin is back in a bull market, and then that's a pullback that has to be bought.
Okay, because it's just almost at 90, so it's like almost at that point where it would be.
Yeah, maybe short term it's kind of a headwind, yes. Um, but it could also mean that it just means that investors and crypto holders start to buy altcoins instead. So, I think that this might also mean that if Bitcoin pulls back a little bit, it would actually help trigger the start of alt season.
Okay, and so it's like this euphoria that you're talking about. It's connected to the growth in Bitcoin's price since the beginning of April, I imagine.
Yeah, yeah, it has a lot to do with yeah, it has to do with like the consistency of the number of days that it's been up, and the fact that Bitcoin's price actually in general has moved up more on the up days than it's fallen on the down days. So you kind of have a lot of things going right now in crypto from a price perspective.
Okay, so my next question is, so currently Bitcoin's still trading above 5,000. It's stabilized there in USD terms. And can you talk about what technical indicators tell you about this price range, and or do you rely on them?
Yeah, so I don't follow technicals as closely. I think the most important to me technical achievement of Bitcoin recently is that it crossed its 200-day moving average. Um, and the reason being is that, in general, whether we look at any market, people tend to think an instrument or an asset is in positive trend when it's above its 200 days. So Bitcoin was able to finally cross that, which was around 4,200. And at the start of this year, we thought that crossover would take place in the fall, and that's when people would turn bullish. But the fact that it's happening now is actually, is bullish, and I think it means, Bitcoin's recovery is taking place a lot faster than we would have expected. And I think it maybe means that the price recovery cycle for Bitcoin this time won't be any different than past either.
Okay, can you expand on what you mean by that won't be any different? Like we'll see another peak or?
Yeah, I think one of the debates out there is, are the cycles getting longer? So are the bear markets getting longer, and is the recovery in price going to take longer, even with the Bitcoin halving taking place next year? and I think I think that's generally the consensus view because Bitcoin's just much bigger now, and the bubble was so much larger in terms of just amount of capital that was raised and lost in the in ICOs. But I think as a ecosystem and as a network platform, and crypto is still quite small. It's only 50 million at most wallets. So I would think it makes more sense for the cycles to be similar, and so that Bitcoin will stage a pretty big recovery starting sometime this year, and easily recover to new highs, exceed old highs, and then but just how far it goes, I guess, is the unknown.
Okay, so to clarify, you could see it reaching new highs within this year.
Oh, I don't know if it's this year, but I think new highs are going to be achieved, and I think it's important more for the non-crypto person to realize that that's I think for the non-crypto investor, so someone who might be new to crypto, when they saw Bitcoin down 80% from its highs, they just thought it was on its way to zero, because that's pretty typical of like an equity that's down 80%, or it's pretty typical of anything that's down that much. But now it looks like there's a recovery underway, and I think the real question for those who are new to crypto is, can Bitcoin reattain its old highs? Because if it does, it's 4x from here, and I guess we don't think it's going to be any problem for Bitcoin to reattain its old highs.
Could you talk a little bit about what you think the reasons are behind the recent bump in price from the beginning of April that brought Bitcoin back over, I think it was 4,800 for the first time this year, but it was a multi-month high in any case?
Yeah, the move since April, I think, is kind of a culmination of events, because I do think that we were seeing encouraging signs before that and Tuur Demeester talked about this, that it was really some of the older wallets that were on the blockchain that were beginning to add. So it means that folks who had sold in early 2018 are starting to buy back. And as you know, on-chain transaction activity on many measures has begun to pick up, and even exchange volume. So I think that it was a healthy recovery, but why it happened on April 1 in that 1 hour window, I don't know, but I do think it's the start of a real price recovery.
That was Tom Lee, Bitcoin market analyst and co-founder of Fundstrat. Be sure to tune in on Sunday for our weekly Hodler's Digest with Molly Jane. She has a surprise for you.
Cointelegraph. Like, subscribe, and hodl.